Steve and Jill here.
Hi.
Welcome to the Land Academy Show, entertaining land investment talk, we hope. I'm Steve and Jack Butella.
I'm sure it is. And I'm Jill DeWitt, broadcasting from sunny Southern California.
Today, Jill and I talk about creating immediate equity with property acquisitions. I know of no other way other than printing money in your basement to create immediate equity in a business.
It's so exciting. You know it. That's the fun part.
Here's a spoiler alert. When you buy a piece of property that's worth $100,000 for $40,000, you just created $60,000 worth of equity.
Yep.
The old school guys say, hey, buy it low, sell high.
Huh. Really?
And if you're running short on time today, you can just turn off the show.
There you go.
We're going to talk all about that.
You got it.
Before we get into it, let's take a question posted by one of our members on the landacademy.com online community. It's free.
Cool. Mike asks, I have a buyer of one of my properties in California that has asked that I provide an NHD, which is a National Hazard Disclosure. I'm familiar with these on residential and commercial properties. Does anyone get this disclosure when they purchase? Do you have your buyer pay the applicable fee, split it, or pay yourself? It's small dollars to get it done, so in the end, I'll split it with the buyer. But I want to see what everyone's practice is typically. Thanks.
Mike, this is nothing short of a joke. And I can feel my face getting red about how this kind of stuff really angers me. In any given transaction, we just went through a deal like this, where depending on who's orchestrating the deal or who's involved in it, usually it's real estate agents who require all this CYA, cover your bottom, signatures and disclosures and lead-based paint and all of this stuff. The first thing I ask everybody, and I actually don't ask it very nicely, is, am I required by law to do this? So that's my question here.
No.
It costs $75. Jill did the research. It costs $75 to get one of these things, and that's somebody's business.
And it's their opinion. So I got to tell you, I looked up a little bit before we were doing this show, and I found this website. I'm not going to say what it is because they don't deserve the advertising.
Nothing short of a freaking joke.
It's like a total scam. So on the front page of their website, it shows a 2-story house shaking because like there's an earthquake. There's a big crack coming at the house.
They're inciting fear.
Fire on the house. It's all animated. There's like an animated person on the second floor with a helicopter hovering overhead, and then for $74.95 we'll provide a report to see if your house is whatever. That's hilarious.
Jill, I'm glad you can have a good attitude about it, and I mean it because it offsets what I really think about this.
This is mean. This is just like evoking fear when it's not needed and just trying to get money out of people for silly stuff.
I owned an office building for a long time, and we were the primary tenant, and we had a bunch of other tenants, and I was looking over the financial statement one day, and I could see all these monthly charges from this company called Emergency LLC or something. Mm-hmm. So there was a guy who showed up every month. This went on for a year without me knowing about it. Showed up in the building, checked all the fire extinguishers, and charged us $120 a month. I had no idea. I had no idea this was going on, and it was not my staff's fault. The guy's all dressed up with the badge. He shows up in his red little truck.
And that's all he does?
I went absolutely nuts.
Wow.
Yeah, because it's not required. None of this stuff is required.
No.
It's all they're juking you.
Oh my gosh.
That's what this is. So the takeaway, listener, from this is that, especially if you're new, buyers and real estate agents, specifically real estate agents, because they have to cover, they're so exposed from a liability standpoint, or lawyers will dream up stuff to make you do so that they don't get in trouble. Dual representation is a perfect example of this. Jill and I just lost an office space deal because I refused to sign dual representation. Mm-hmm. The agent who was representing the property owner asked us to sign to check the box on a lease that said, if the seller, for whatever reason, decides that he's not going to pay me on this, you are. Mm-hmm. And my question was, well, you're not representing me, are you? Well, if you check the box, I am. So believe me, these contracts with all this language in them are designed to get you to pay. They're all bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if this is required by law. I don't. And even if it is, I would contest it.
Mm-mm. Well, this whole thing, this company, I'm reading through the whole sample report, which is a total thing. It's total. All it is they're compiling information that you already know and stuff that
like what? Is it in a flight plane?
Exactly. They go even further. It's hilarious. Critical habitats within a mile of a mining operation.
I love California and I love living here, but I'll tell you what,
really weird.
It has gotten out of control, this kind of stuff.
Yeah, airport influence area, earthquake fault zone, landslide seismic hand zone, liquid whatever. Here's my whole thing too. You should know what you're buying when you're buying it, obviously, number one. And number two is this going to prevent anything or guarantee or provide any extra insurance or anything? The answer is no. It's not going to do anything.
It's truly a buyer beware situation.
It's always that way.
It's really too bad that these things are out there. But as a savvy investor, like if this happened to us, Jill, I know Jill would laugh this guy off the phone.
It's ridiculous. It's oh my god. It's like
I'm really glad you asked this question.
It's like buying a warranty for an extended warranty that covers $100 of nothing. Or what I'm trying to say. Some of these extended warranties really don't cover anything. You could buy an extended warranty that covers, should the event of these 6 things and the stars are all alignment happen, then we'll pay out. Because if you look at them, some of them are like that. It's ridiculous. It didn't cover anything.
It's a true buyer beware situation.
It just makes me mad that people are charging money for stuff like this. I don't know. I'm gonna you know what, Stephen? I'm gonna sell you a policy on your car that you might someday get a flat tire. Just so you know this, you might someday have a scratch on your windshield. You might someday that's all this is. Great. Do you know that you own a vehicle and all these things might happen? So
thank you very much. I'm gonna flip this into a positive note. There are some great value-oriented organizations out there like AAA, where you pay $50-$60 a year. And you have the sleep at night because if you get a flat tire,
right,
someone's going to come and pick you up.
Well, there's free things that are covered.
And here's the real estate version. You don't have to do this stuff.
It's true.
You don't need a real estate agent. You don't need a lawyer, and you don't need a title agent. The law is still on your side.
It's true.
You're just getting so barraged with all these awful signals,
right,
that you don't know which way is up if you're new. I'm here to tell you. You can sit down in a coffee shop with the owner of a piece of property. Jill and I do this all the time, or people from our group do, and provide a deed for them to sign. They sign it. You hand them a cashier's check or an envelope full of money in some cases, and you own the property. You don't need an NHD for a deal like that. You don't need a lead-based paint disclosure. 9 times out of 10, you don't even need an affidavit on the deal. Mm-hmm. On the deed, I mean. It's just something that helps the assessor do his job. Do I want to help the assessor do his job? Or is he going to charge me more on my real estate taxes? Mm-hmm. It's a rhetorical question. Go ahead, Joe.
What I was going to say is, what I would do, Mike, if this question was posed to me.
That's what I'd like to see that. I would like a tape of that.
After I got off the floor, because I was laughing so hard about the Kern County 20-acre property that they wanted NHD for $75, I would say, knock yourself out. And then call me back, or just go, better yet, don't call me. Check out online if you want to buy the property. Go spend the $75. If you're that into this, go for it. That's hilarious.
I think that someone should call us the Attorney General
on these people. This seems like a scam to me. It really is. It's like,
and it's probably the Attorney General would review it, and you know what they would say? Yeah, it turns out they're not doing anything illegal.
True, because all they're doing is providing all the information.
Buyer beware. Yeah, I agree with you. I've done this before. Yeah, I agree with you. It's really ridiculous, and it's an outrage, and it's misleading, and all of it. But it's not illegal. And unfortunately, I'm sure people pay the $75 for something like this.
It's hilarious.
For all we know, Mike here owns this company, and he wants to get it on the internet. I mean, on our show.
Oh my gosh.
So congratulations.
So
funny. I hope it backfired.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, today's topic is, let's talk about some making money and some fun stuff now.
Okay.
Today's topic is creating immediate equity with property acquisitions of all kind. This is the meat of the show. Did you ever wonder why there's these people with yachts and helicopters on top of them, and you ask them, like, well, what do you do for a living? What the heck is this? What's the difference between you and me? Oh, no, I'm in the real estate business. Well, wait a minute. I'm in the real estate business.
That's a good one.
Why is my yacht like 65 feet and yours is 190,000 feet? And it's got helicopters and stuff.
I want to know why.
Well, it's because you are still horsing around with all this land, and you're flipping houses, and you're making, 20 or 30 or 40,000 bucks a pop. Congratulations. I do the same thing with 17,000 acres in Manhattan.
Mm-hmm. And
or
millions.
I buy office buildings for 5% less than they're worth, and I resell them to people like Sam Zell. Mm-hmm. That's why. That's the only difference. The concepts are all exactly the same. Maybe it's a little bit more scalable than us. Mm-hmm. And quite honestly, Jill and I I'm just using it as an example, we're not suffering. Mm-hmm. So that's the answer. The answer is they're creating equity. So there's a lot of ways to create equity in real estate. The most popular one among commercial real estate companies is this. Look at a Starbucks. That's a freestanding Starbucks where you drive through. That's called a triple net. It's a triple net real estate deal where somebody owns that property and they triple net lease it to Starbucks corporate, and they sign the lease, and they're responsible. Starbucks itself is responsible for every single thing that goes on in that building. If the thing burns down, it's their fault. The air conditioner needs to be changed, they have to do it. And that's what triple net is. The tenant is responsible for 100% of the property, maintaining it, everything. There's a few things that they're not usually responsible for, like property taxes, but that's a different story. And what ends up happening is there's an escalation in the rent every year, 3 to 5%, or it's tied to the consumer price index, but it goes up. It might be tied to inflation. When it goes up, it changes the cap rate of the building. What doesn't go up for the property owner is a mortgage payment, or the type of financing, or the how the deal's structured financially. So the cap rate is always in favor of the landlord. So if you own the building for 5 years, you can sell it for a heck of a lot more than you paid. That's called creating equity in real estate. Well, I don't want to wait 5 years, Jill.
I just stood back letting you run with this. This is funny. This is entertaining.
That's beautiful, Jack. That's great.
Steven.
I don't have 5 years. I want to quit my job now.
Yep.
Well, the bad news is this. You can't do it with the triple net Starbucks, probably. You might be able to, but probably not. You can do it with land and with houses and apartment buildings and things that are what I call non-institutional real estate. You can buy a piece of dirt that's worth $100,000 right now. Everybody looking at it's going to agree, oh, it's worth $100,000 for $40,000 or $50,000. Jill and I do it all the time. Or it's worth $22 million in the case of some of these ranches that are here in California, Southern California, and buy them for $10 million. That's how you get the yacht with the helicopter on it. The reason you can create immediate equity with these property owners is by sending them offers. Mm-hmm. You buy a piece of property because you're not looking for the pure piece of property itself. You're looking for the owner who's just done with it for whatever reason. In apartments case, they're just frustrated with being a landlord. In a house SFR case with houses, it happens every day with us. They're just done with the property. They need the money. They're sick of getting the
it's
tax
like a
bill.
life situation usually. Yeah. It's like the kids are gone, we're done. There's something usually that triggers it.
The plain truth is
we're
that
retired.
They just don't want to list it with the real estate agent. They don't want people traipsing through their house. They don't want to clean up the basement. They just
remodel. They don't want to do the remodel. They don't have the money.
It's
sometimes.
Worth $50,000 to them in equity, because for whatever reason they just don't want to deal with that house anymore.
Well, I'll tell you, I just talked to a guy 2 days ago. He said flat out, he told me, I was going to look it up, but he told me, he's like, I paid $80,000 for it, and I'm buying it for $300,000, and I'm just, we know it's worth $450,000. Mm-hmm. This happens all the time.
Right. So describe, because this baffles people. It baffles even the most professional people I know in other professions. Tell me about this guy on the phone. On the other end of the phone, he's a seller. Mm-hmm. He paid $80,000 for the house a lot of years ago. Mm-hmm. We bought it for $300,000, and we're gonna sell it. We're gonna wholesale it out for probably 340.
Yeah.
And whoever renovates it's going to make 450, 500.
And they want to make 100,000. That's their thing on it. I'm like, 'cause, I mean, they want from when they buy it to the sale, they put the renovations in, so they need that much of a spread. So she's going to put 40 into it and make like 60 is her goal. So
and we made 25, 30, 35, 40 just on the wholesale
our
flip.
thing.
But my question is, describe to me the seller's logic, not the renovator, the seller. He knows it's worth 450, but he's willing to sell it to us for 300.
He does.
Because
He
this
knows,
baffles people. I mean, we deal with it every day.
He knows it's worth that much at the end. Number one, he paid $80,000 for it. It's been paid off for a long time.
So he's going to get a $250,000 check.
He already has a house ready to go to. He wants to move in with his son and his wife's still alive back east. They don't want to. They either don't have the money.
This is the meat of the show.
Or
by the way, go ahead.
They don't have the money or don't want to do the work. Pick one to get it to that point. And they don't want to spend the time, by the way. They know it's going to take months. That's the funny thing, too.
Why don't they just go list it with the real estate agent and move out?
Because they know they're going to lose money on the deal anyway because of that. And you know what? We caught them before that. That's the whole thing, too. Your whole get there first is true, Stephen. And you're right. That's the whole point here. We want to get there first with a letter. Get there while they're thinking about it. And then get them to call you. And what's really funny, too, is this guy had got a letter from us like in January, I want to say. The letter had expired. But he saw a house that we bought nearby in his neighborhood that we already flipped, dumpster in it. And he knew that we were the same people going around buying them in this area. And he's like, you know what? I'm ready to do this.
There's credibility there.
Yeah. We're ready to do it. I'm ready now. So obviously he's been thinking about it since January, probably before January. But now our offer hit, and now he's like, yeah, I'm ready to do this. So
that discussion that Jill had with the seller, number one, it never would have happened unless we sent a bunch of offers out to owners. And no one believes that happens. Mm-hmm. That is really what goes on. That's why these people have helicopters on their yachts. Mm-hmm. They just do it with much larger properties. Mm-hmm. And they have much bigger financing groups behind them. Mm-hmm. That's how you create equity, immediate equity in a real estate deal.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing, that the day I know that I have equity in it and I already have my buyer lined up because we've been doing deals in this area. So I know the day that I signed the papers with that guy, I just made $30,000. That was equity to me. And I could do more, but I don't want to. I don't want to do that work.
You just nailed my next point. And a huge mistake that I see all kinds of people make is they bought a property. We're going to use Jill's example here. A house or a piece of property for $300,000. We all know it's worth $450 or $500. They start down that path instead of just selling it for $25,000 more and moving on to the next deal.
They do. They rethink themselves.
Yeah.
Well, even in the land,
it never works. I'm telling you.
I'm going to bring it back to land. People rethink themselves like, boy, if I put a cabin on there, or if I put a mobile on there,
maximizing revenue,
which is not crazy.
It's crazy.
However, do you want to? I mean, you will make that. Do you want to get into that business? And there's so much more you got to think about now. All right. So versus. This is our land thing.
Versus being in the data business.
We all day long, every week, every day. I love it. You're looking for these run to the bank land situations. It's awesome. I just had one. It was so funny. We just bought a little property, $700, sold it for $2,000. It's not a lot. I could have actually done more, but you know what? Everybody's happy. It's worth way more. Everybody's happy.
What ends up happening is somebody calls us on a letter that we send, and they say, by the way, I've got these other 24 properties over here. My dad passed away. He was collecting property. Would you mind just doing all these deals for us? And so we do. We end up with all this property.
Mm-hmm. We'll buy them all. We don't do the deals for them. Threshold. We buy them.
Yeah, we buy it, but we don't lose money on it. But it's not. We don't make a ton. And so yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
What ends up the reality is you should see Jill's office.
Well, you should know this. This is the whole point for me of this show. If you can't immediately hang up, the day that it closes, go, you're like cheering.
The day that the acquisition closes.
The day the acquisition closes, not the sale closes. The day the acquisition closes, you should be going, I can't believe we got that for that price.
You should be jumping up and down, running to the bank.
That's the part. That's when you're celebrating. The rest, you
already know. That's when you made the equity.
You know that. You know how it's going to sell. You know what it's worth. You know how fast it's going to go. You know what it's the value.
I microscopically look at acquisitions every day. I never look at sales.
Nope.
In the morning, we get a report on the email And
Yep.
I look at our sales numbers and I say, oh, good, it's up. Or,
Yep.
no, man, what's going on? It's down. But I never look at it.
Do you know what's funny? Here's the
Every
only thing.
day I look at acquisitions, though. That's the lifeblood of it all.
Do you know what happens to me though? I got to tell you, some of the times these things sell so fast, or they sell at a price I go and I go, wait, what did we pay for that again? I'm like, shucks, we let that one go too low. I often do that. I'm like, we let that go too low. But you know what? Who cares? Move on.
Why? Because it sold too fast?
No, I could just kind of, sometimes I know that they were just kind of, sometimes they might not, sometimes it doesn't sell that fast. Let's just, okay. And the market has taken a little bit of an upturn. And I go, shucks, I should have repriced that one because we could have got more. But you know what? Let it go. Who flipping cares? The day that I priced it, or the day that you priced it, or we priced it, however you want to call it, the day that we priced it, that was what we wanted to make on it. It was more than double, and we were good with it. Now, 3 weeks have happened when someone finally checked out. It could have been more, but who cares?
You're cracking me up right now.
I know. Isn't that funny?
You're funny.
Why?
Well, because we just described over the last 2 episodes, maybe 3, properties where we made like 4, 5, 8 times what we paid.
I know.
And a couple times, maybe, let's say, hopefully they're members.
Right.
And Academy members buy some property for less than like half of our markup.
Right.
So it's all okay.
I know that. That's my point.
Oh, okay. You know what? It was my turn to take a little nap.
Oh. Thanks a lot. Wow. Your nails look nice.
Yeah. Well, you've done it again. You spent another 22 minutes with us listening to the Land Academy show.
You don't realize it flew by because you fell asleep in the middle. Thanks.
Join us tomorrow, where I interrupt Jill. No, join us tomorrow for another interesting episode about how much wealth can you actually possibly accumulate buying undervalued land.
Awesome. And we answer your questions posted on landacademy.com. We have an online community you can find there, and it's free.
You are not alone in your real estate ambition.
Hilarious. Well, good. It was your turn this time to zone out.
It's so much of this stuff is Captain Obvious stuff to us, but if you're in the real estate business at all, you every once in a while, probably every week for us, but probably every month at least, we hear somebody on the acquisition staff hang up the phone and it's like, oh my God, we just made like $48,000 in this thing. Every single house we buy, because of the market right now, it's $25,000 in the bank immediately. So, there's land deals that we're working on right now, some bigger ones. It takes a little bit longer to sell, but geez, the sky's the limit. Actually, that's what the tomorrow's show's about.
Oh, I can't wait. Hey, if you can't wait, share the fun by subscribing on iTunes or wherever you're listening. And while you're at it, rate us there, please. We are Steve and Jill.
Information
and inspiration
to buy undervalued property.